Elena Carmichael was only 9 years old, yet everyone in the city already knew her name, not because of her brilliance at school or any remarkable talent, but because of her temper, her entitlement, and her frightening ability to make grown adults tremble simply by walking into a room. As the only daughter of Adrian Carmichael, the billionaire whose investments shaped half the skyline, Elena had grown up in a world where every whim was fulfilled before she could finish the sentence, and every mistake she made was rewritten by the adults around her as, "She's just a child." But there was nothing just about Elena. She behaved like a storm with legs, furious, unpredictable, and destructive, leaving chaos behind her with no one brave enough to confront her. Every school she attended eventually gave up, every nanny resigned in tears, and every worker in her father's luxury establishments learned to survive by avoiding her. That balance ended the day she met a waitress named Mera Valdez, a woman whose courage did not come from wealth, power, or age, but from a past that taught her that running from problems only makes monsters grow bigger. It was a calm afternoon in Carmichael's Grand Dining Hall, one of the most elite restaurants in the city, where chandeliers glowed like orbs of molten gold above marble floors polished to a mirror finish. Wealthy families quietly discussed business deals and expensive vacations, but the tranquility cracked the moment the glass doors swung open and Elena marched in like a tiny queen with an overinflated crown. Her hair was tied in a perfect ponytail, her navy blue academy blazer embroidered with a golden crest, and on her face sat an expression that read, "The world belongs to me, so move." Behind her trailed Adrian Carmichael, still on a business call, looking exhausted in his flawless suit. He had long stopped trying to control her. Damage control was easier. He simply nodded at the staff who bowed fearfully and prayed today wouldn't be one of those days. Mera, who had joined the restaurant only 2 months ago, had heard the rumors but refused to let gossip shape her behavior. She was a tall woman in her late 20s, with warm brown eyes and an air of calm determination often found in people who have survived storms far worse than tantrums. She was wiping down a table when she noticed a scene unfolding near the window. A couple had just sat down for a quiet lunch when Elena suddenly grabbed the man's bread roll off his plate, sniffed it, wrinkled her nose, and threw it on the floor with disgust. The man tried to smile awkwardly, terrified of offending the billionaire's daughter, and muttered that it was okay. His wife forced a laugh, pretending not to be humiliated. Mera felt something twist in her chest as she watched Elena stomp away without a hint of remorse, and the adults swallowing their dignity to avoid trouble. That was the moment Mera realized the rumors hadn't exaggerated. The girl truly believed she owned everything and everyone. Moments later, Elena sat at a reserved table and immediately began barking orders at the staff. "I want the sandwich now. And don't make it wrong like last time. This place is so slow," she snapped, while the other waiters scrambled to obey. Mera watched quietly, recognizing the look of fear in her co-workers' eyes, fear of losing their jobs, fear of upsetting a billionaire, fear of confronting a child who wielded more power than most adults ever would. When Elena's sandwich arrived, she took one bite, made a dramatic gagging sound, and shoved the plate across the table so hard it nearly hit another customer. "Are you all stupid? It's soggy. I said no tomatoes," she shrieked, even though the sandwich clearly had none. Her father, still on his call, glanced over with weary apology but said nothing. He never said anything. Mera felt heat rise in her chest again, but she reminded herself to breathe. She had faced cruelty before, years of working 2 jobs to support her younger sister, surviving a toxic marriage she barely escaped, and rebuilding her life from nothing. Compared to that, this girl's tantrums were sparks, not flames. But sparks spread into wildfires if no one stomped them out. The breaking point came when Elena suddenly stood up, stormed toward a waitress carrying a tray, and smacked the tray out of her hand simply because the woman didn't move out of her way fast enough. Glass shattered, soup spilled across the floor, and the waitress, an older woman with trembling hands, bowed repeatedly, apologizing through tears though she had done nothing wrong. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Customers stared, horrified but frozen. Adrian Carmichael finally ended his call, panic creeping across his features. He rushed to Elena, whispering harshly, "Stop it. Control yourself, Elena." But his voice held no authority, it was merely a plea. Elena scoffed loudly. "She's the one who needs to control herself. She almost bumped into me, doesn't she know who I am?" That was the moment Mera stepped forward. Her footsteps echoed across the floor, not hurried, not aggressive, just steady and calm, like someone who had already decided fear had no place in her life. The older waitress tried to shake her head, silently begging her not to get involved, but Mera gave her a small reassuring nod. She knelt to help pick up the broken pieces, then stood and faced Elena directly. The entire restaurant held its breath. A billionaire's daughter was being confronted, a social taboo so strong that even the chandelier lights seemed to tense. Elena narrowed her eyes, confused that someone wasn't shrinking under her glare. "What are you looking at?" she demanded. Mera's voice was gentle, but unshakable. "You hurt her." Elena blinked, taken aback. No one ever spoke to her that way. "So what?" "She got in my way." "No," Mera replied calmly. "You got in hers." Adrian stepped forward, sweat forming at his temples. Let's all calm down." Mera looked at him, not with disrespect, but with a firm kindness. "Sir, with respect, calming down isn't the problem. Teaching her is." Gasps rippled around the room. Elena's face flushed a deep red, not from shame, but from outrage. "You can't talk to my father like that. He's a billionaire. He owns this place. He can fire you." Mera's expression softened. "Maybe he can. But someone has to tell you the truth, Elena. Being wealthy doesn't make you better than anyone. And hurting people because you can't control your feelings, that doesn't make you strong. It makes you lonely." For the first time, Elena's confident mask faltered. Not entirely, but enough to reveal a flicker of something unexpected: confusion, vulnerability, maybe even fear. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever drawn a boundary instead of bending under her behavior. Adrian stared at Mera, stunned into silence. The older waitress who had been attacked wiped her tears, trying not to sob. The restaurant remained frozen, waiting for the explosion. Elena clenched her fists, breathing fast, her anger trembling rather than roaring. "You don't know anything about me," she spat. Mera nodded. "Then tell me." That simple sentence, an invitation instead of a punishment, shattered the last bit of defiance in Elena's eyes. She looked around the restaurant and finally noticed something she had never cared to see: people weren't afraid of her power, they were afraid of her pain. Fear, pity, exhaustion, all mixed in their gazes. And Adrian, her father, looked utterly defeated, like a man who had tried everything except the one thing he feared most: saying no. Elena trembled, her voice cracking. "Everyone always leaves. Every nanny. Every teacher. Everyone. They all hate me." Mera slowly crouched to be at eye level with her. "They don't hate you, Elena. They're just scared. Not of you, but of failing to help you." Tears welled in the girl's eyes, shocking the room. Billionaire's daughter or not, she suddenly looked like what she truly was: a child lost behind walls built from entitlement, loneliness, and the absence of real boundaries. Adrian's voice broke. I should have done more. I thought giving her everything would make her happy." Mera shook her head gently. "Giving children everything isn't the same as giving them guidance." Elena wiped her eyes aggressively, embarrassed. "So, what now?" Mera gave a small, warm smile. "Now you apologize. And we start over." A silence followed, long, aching, and strange. Then Elena turned to the older waitress and whispered, "I'm sorry." Tears returned to the woman's eyes, but this time they were different, soft, grateful. The entire restaurant breathed again for the first time in minutes. Adrian exhaled shakily, looking at Mera like she was some kind of miracle. And maybe she was. Mera stood, her hand steady, her voice warm but firm. "Everyone stumbles, Elena. What matters is what you do next." As the tension eased, and the staff returned to their work, customers whispered in amazement. Word of what happened would spread far beyond the walls of the grand dining hall. It wasn't the billionaire, nor the influential guests, nor the luxury of the restaurant that changed the course of a child's life. It was the courage of a single waitress who refused to look away. And as the scene faded, the narrator's voice rose, drawing the viewers closer. If you want more powerful stories like this, stories that remind us that even small acts of courage can change lives, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching stories to the world.